Fanatics isn't just our name, it's who we are. Loyal, passionate fans dedicated to our favorite teams and to the sports we love. That's why we're honored to be able to offer fans the world's largest collection of official sports apparel and sports jerseys from all the leagues, teams, and players you love. We feature a wide selection of gear from every league, including NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, and NCAA merchandise, which allows us to serve fans of football, baseball, hockey, basketball, lacrosse, soccer, golf, and everything else that gets your heart pumping. Go to fanatics.com by using the QR code on your screen right now to celebrate your teams.
And welcome into another episode of Inside Edge Primetime here on the Inside Edge Network. Chad Bryan to my right, your left. I am Eli Moon. Welcome in, everybody, to a Wednesday edition of Primetime. A very busy Wednesday edition. A lot to talk about. The Cavs were in action here against the Atlanta Hawks in a very playoff atmosphere type game. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Guardians. They were in action against the Royals, concluding that series against Kansas City earlier on today. And then, of course, we have our Wayback Wednesday and a trip into what happened on April 8th, way back. And maybe it wasn't a Wednesday, but you know what? We'll discuss that at another time. But nonetheless, we got a lot to talk about. Before we dive into it all, Chad, Bryan, how are you feeling, my friend?
I'm good. Listen, there's Wayback Wednesday is loaded. I told you, I texted you. I was like, I had to pare it down. I had like 10 or 12 things. And I'm like, we can't do the whole show. Can't be Wayback Wednesday, right? It can't be. So I had to cut like 6 or 7 things out, man. Eli, we have 5 really, really good ones, though. I tried to do either big moments, Cleveland-related stuff. Man, there were so many big ones. But a lot of baseball stuff, obviously, because it's the first week of baseball season. But, yeah, Wayback Wednesday's pretty loaded tonight, man. Pretty loaded.
Well, that gives you a reason to stick around. And if not, hey, Chad and I will keep you entertained all the way throughout. So I think that's a good enough reason to stick around as well. Thanks for tuning in for the first time. If you are tuning in for the first time, give us a follow Inside Edge Net. If you've been sticking with us since September, you know the drill. We're going to get into a lot of fun stuff and have our own spin on it. We'll start with the Cavaliers here as they defeated the Atlanta Hawks 122-116. Yeah, in a game that, Chad, you know what? I know a lot of people aren't supposed to put a lot of stock in the April games, and there's a lot of talk here in this city about, well, should we be worried about, the Cavaliers? Should we look into regular season games with a lot of, does this matter, I guess, type of feel to it? And I will say that we should, at this point, with about 4 games now, 3 games left in the regular season for the Cavaliers, should be looking at some of these games where, okay, where are you trying to go playoff-wise? And I get it. I'm not going to say the Washington Wizards in a few games are going to be a measuring stick of where the Cavaliers are going to end up in the playoffs. But I do think a game against the Atlanta Hawks, a team that could end up as the 5th seed, a team that you could play in the first round if you're the Cavaliers, is a game that you obviously want to win. And the Cavaliers do come up with a victory. They win by 6 points. And in the victory, Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley both looking very dominant. Mobley with 22 points, 19 rebounds in the win. And then Donovan Mitchell with 31 points. So, Chad, I guess, what are your thoughts on this Cavaliers team? I know that we've had a lot of thoughts here on this show, on the network. But just with the Cavs right now, it seems like there's a lot of questions. And the 2 biggest ones are, can they stand defensively strong? And can they stay healthy enough to battle the likes of Boston, New York, Detroit even, who's getting Cade Cunningham back, obviously.
Yeah, nice little acquisition there, right? Just
right.
Free piece to pick up. But, yeah, no, I think the Cavs, listen, they're right in the middle of the road, defensively. As far as points per game go, anyway, it seems worse lately, but they've been playing pretty well. I mean, they've won a ton of games recently. So, yeah, they're giving up a lot of points, but they're winning basketball games. They're not really healthy. They're really hard to get a gauge on right now. It's just it's I don't know. It feels hit or miss going into the playoffs, right? Like all the years that we're really excited, the last couple of seasons, we've been super excited to get into, this is the year, the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, we're going to get to Game 6 or Game 7, whatever it is. But they keep losing in the second round. So I don't know how to feel. I guess I'm cautiously optimistic, but it feels like the other shoe could drop at any second. And yeah, I mean, Mobley looked great. Like you said, 22 and 19, that's good. That's what you want, right? You'll take that. But yeah, I mean, Jared Allen has to be healthy. The knee thing concerns me with him because we've talked about it before. I mean, you need he and Mobley to be out there at the same time and playing well together and playing off of each other. And you just want them at their peak when they head into the playoffs here in a few days. I mean, it's just a few days away at the end of the season, just like whatever next week. I
Right.
don't know. I don't know how to feel about them right now. I just like I said, they're playing well now. Like you said, it's hard to put stock into April games. I mean, April games are what they are. It's nice when you're winning games against what could be your first playoff opponent. I mean, whatever that does psychologically, but I mean, things look totally different in the NBA in the playoffs than they do in the regular season. So again, it's really hard to tell right now.
Yeah, in 2 games left, I misspoke there and said three. 2 games left against the Hawks, the same Hawks team, and then Washington for the Cavs. So we'll keep an eye. They'll go to Atlanta and then they are back home against Washington. I think it's going to be interesting. The Cavs kind of can dictate a little bit if if Atlanta gets that 5th spot.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with you. There is a lot of variables up in the air. Is James Harden going to be able to step up if we need him in a game 6 or a game 7? Yeah. Is Donovan going to have enough health? We see him with the ankle, walking off the other day. Is his ankle going to hold up? Is his body going to hold up for a deep playoff run? Same with Jared Allen, who, yes, they're saying he won't be 100%, it seems like, until this offseason, which just kind of seems to be a trend nowadays.
Which you hope comes later than sooner. I mean, I don't know.
Right. And then you look at Evan Mobley, obviously you have just the question of if we need to look at Evan Mobley to lead a series, if it is against the New York Knicks and Karl Anthony Towns, if it is against these Detroit Bigs and Jalen Duren and these guys that are, standing strong, Isaiah Stewart, is Evan Mobley going to be able to do that? And I don't know. I guess those are the questions you have. Defensively, they're giving up a lot of points typically every night, and that's a problem. I mean, Boston has that championship DNA. This team especially, this team with Tatum, Brown, Derek White, these guys around them, I think they have this type of mindset where they can shut down a team and only allow 95 points. We've seen it. So, with the New York Knicks, who are able to really go as far as Jalen Brunson takes them in that squad, it's going to be interesting to see where the Cavaliers fall. But one thing's for certain, with Detroit locking up the number one seed and the Cavs having a top 4 seed, it seems like, they're going to fall into a spot where they might be able to go against Detroit. Now, I'm not sitting here and saying we need to mathematically figure out how to get against Boston in the latest round possible, and the Knicks possibly we don't have to play them. You got to play who you got to play, Chad.
I feel like that's a dangerous game because you're going to play good teams. It's the NBA. I mean, these are the playoffs. You're going to play great teams. Maybe not great teams. I'm not all-time great teams, but, for right now, good teams, good enough teams to get the top 4 seeds. I think I agree with you. It's just play them as they come.
Yeah. And there's a lot of teams that I'm not really too concerned about. One team that is interesting enough, though, and they're sitting at the 9th spot right now, is the Charlotte Hornets. They've been on fire after the All-Star break, and I think they are a team that I don't think anybody really wants to play, especially Detroit, so we'll kind of keep an eye on that because they're going to have to go win 2 games to get into, maybe the 8th spot there, and that'll be interesting enough. I think Charlotte's a team that to keep an eye on. I think this Atlanta team, since they got Kuminga and they really made some moves at the All-Star break, or the trade deadline rather, I think they've been an interesting team. Yeah. So those are some teams, if you're the Cavaliers, are going to be some dogfights. Orlando is a team that, okay, they've had their struggles, but they're starting to figure it out. They're sitting there in the 7th spot. Same with Toronto. They're in 6th spot. Philadelphia, they just got Paul George back from his suspension. So there's a lot of variables in this Eastern Conference. But the one thing is for certain, I'm not trying to figure out the math to avoid Boston or New York, or if you're avoiding Detroit. It doesn't make any sense to do that. You have to play these teams. You have to defeat them. And if you're the Cavaliers, you've already ran into New York. You've already ran into Boston. Wouldn't you want to go defeat these teams that were in your way? The big talk was, when LeBron was here the first time, was can he get through Boston? Can he get through these teams that were his kryptonite? If you're the Cavaliers, if you're Donovan Mitchell, don't you want to beat Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown? Don't you want to beat Jalen Brunson and these guys? And I think that's the biggest thing is, if you're the Cavaliers and you're the guys on this team, you're not worried about your route. I think that's more of a fans in the outside looking in type thing is, well, we don't have to play matchup-wise. These guys are going to have to play a very good Western Conference team if they make it to the finals, whether it's OKC, if it's San Antonio, Denver, one of these squads. If the Lakers can get a little healthier, I know Luka Doncic obviously out indefinitely. We'll see when they get Reeves back. But one of these teams in the Western Conference are going to have to play good teams is all I'm saying here, Chad. Yeah. And so I think the trying to figure it out and avoid teams doesn't make any sense to me. These are professional basketball players that are trying to get over the teams they just haven't been able to. Allow them to do so. Let's go play Boston. Let's go play New York.
Yeah, I understand wanting an easier path, but if it comes naturally, that's great. I don't know how you could even, you know, I don't know in what way you would try to finagle your way through an easier path. I mean, to me, it just feels like a little bit of a loser mentality. It's just, hey, I mean, go out there, let's just beat whoever they put in front of us. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's the 1 seed, the two, the team that's had our number all year in Boston or whatever. It doesn't matter. They match up pretty well against Detroit, so that seems like a bet. But who cares, right? Like you're going to have to, you're probably going to have to beat one of these teams. So yeah, I think counting on avoiding or thinking about or dreaming about avoiding one of these or both of these teams, it just feels like, what do you do when you finally get them, right? It feels like a huge mental block there. I mean, if you just have the mindset of, hey, it doesn't matter who, whatever, we're running through everybody. Whoever's in front of us, that's who we're going to beat, right? We'll figure out a way.
Right.
I feel like that's the mindset. As fans, it doesn't really matter. We can debate it. We don't have any effect on the game, you know. So I really doubt the players. I don't want to say they don't care who they play, but yeah, in a certain sense, I don't think they care who they play. I think it's just, hey, whoever's out there, we're going to put a game plan together and we're going to go figure it out. We're going to try to execute and hopefully win.
Right, and I guess that's my point earlier. Is as much as people are looking at Boston and New York and these teams at the top in Detroit, I give respect to Detroit. They're the first seed, obviously, in the Eastern Conference for a reason. But at the same point in time, there's teams that have got hot, even though they're lower than the Cavs in the standings, that have been hot after the All-Star break. That I think, if you try to match up, with the teams up top and try to avoid them, you could play yourself into a spot where you're having a tougher first or second round matchup against a team that, like Charlotte, like Toronto, like Atlanta, one of these squads there. So that's,
the Magic freaked me out a little bit matchup wise. I just all year I've been looking at Orlando like, I don't know. Like, I don't know.
They've already given the Cavs a tough run for their money, a few years ago. So, I mean, it doesn't surprise me that Orlando would be a team that would give a little bit of fear here to the Cavaliers fans, because, the Wagner brothers, you have these guys led by Paulo Banchero. It's interesting, Chad, but I think if you're the Cavs, you just go into it and you put your best foot forward and you just hope that Donovan Mitchell and James Harden, this backcourt, can lead you. They can stay healthy enough. You can hope that Jared Allen can stay on the court and really just assert his dominance like he's done during these stretches of the regular season where it's like, okay, this is Jared Allen's offense. He has to get going early for them to really thrive. So
can
maybe
he do that over a 7-game series, though, against a team like forget Orlando, against a team like Boston or, one of these Western, if they get to the finals, I mean, is he able to do that? Is he able to, with whatever's going on in his knee, is that a thing he can physically do?
Yeah, you wonder, and that's when you hope Evan Mobley can step up and guys like Thomas Bryant off the bench, and you obviously don't want to be relying on Thomas Bryant, all due respect, but you don't want to be relying on him in a 7-game series to be your backbone as your big man. I mean, he did put some work in against the Cavs, with Indiana last year, but you would hope that he is more there to, reassure the second unit, ensure that up. And you hope Jared Allen and Evan Mobley can just be the force they can be, that Evan Mobley can pick and choose his shots and really be strong defensively. Because if Jared Allen does miss some time in the postseason, you're not looking at Evan Mobley to give you what he gave you tonight, which is 22 points, 19 rebounds, be a force defensively, and really have that. But one thing's for certain, I don't think we're going to see 2018 LeBron-type efforts out of Donovan Mitchell lead us to a finals appearance. It's going to have to be some nights where James Harden leads the team in scoring, or Jared Allen, or Evan Mobley, or you're going to have a night from one of these three-point shooters like Strus. The other night, earlier,
we hadn't even talked about yet. Yeah.
Strus or Merrill or one of these guys that stand out that could really get hot from the three-point line. Maybe that's what the Cavs need, is just a little bit of team ball here. And you would hope that some veterans, you have Schroeder off the bench. You would hope that these guys can make a difference. That's why he went out and got them. But one thing is for certain, if they're not healthy, it's going to be tough to beat anybody.
Yeah, they do bring a certain toughness factor, but like you said, you have to kick it out on the court. Then it's really hard to. Well, some guys can try in the NBA, but it's hard to be a tough guy from the bench.
Yeah, sure is, pal. Sure is. Hey, we'll keep an eye on these Cavaliers. They have, like I said, 2 games left in the regular season. They're now 51-29 on the year. So we'll see if they can get to 53 wins. That is the most they can get on the year. We'll see if they can do it. And then we'll start talking about the postseason here on the Inside Edge Network. If you're just tuning in for the first time, we appreciate you. Follow us at Inside Edge Net. And Chad, you have something to say to the people out there?
I just was going to ask you, Eli, if you thought after the Cavs start, after the first 15, 20 games of the season, if you thought we'd be sitting here talking about them possibly getting the 53 wins. I didn't.
Yeah, me either. Me either. I mean, there was a lot of stuff going on, but it was also a completely different backcourt.
Yeah, it was.
One, a guy that now plays in Los Angeles, and Darius Garland. We wish him well, but
Yeah.
completely different timeline the Cavaliers are on now. It is win now mode. There is no core 4 anymore. It is core 3, you can call it, with the add on of James Harden. But this team, especially depending what happens in the postseason and the playoffs for this team, could be a completely different look. If they bring in another superstar to try to just essentially, people called Michigan buying their win in the NCAA. The Cavs may have to buy their win for an NBA championship if it doesn't work out this year. But one thing's for certain, they're going to give it a go with this backcourt. And I feel at least good about the backcourt in the star power of it. They're going to be there until the wheels fall off. James Harden hasn't been to an NBA final since 2012. Donovan Mitchell's never been there. So,
Pretty wild.
We'll keep an eye on it, pal.
Yep.
One thing's for certain, we're going to have a lot more to talk about when we come back. We're going to talk about the Guardians. They are off to a hot start. If you talk to one of us, if you talk to the other ones, you say they're playing okay. They're playing good. They're playing all right ball. All right, you'll guess which one. I'm sure you can guess which one's guessing, and saying which side of things. But with that being said, we'll talk the Guardians when we come back. They won another series, this time against the Kansas City Royals. We'll talk about their offensive explosion, if this is something we can expect moving forward. And then later we go way back on this Wednesday and see what happened on April 8th. Chad's going to take us into a time machine. It's going to be a lot of fun. But this is Inside Edge Primetime here on the Inside Edge Network. That's Chad Bryan to my right, your left. I'm Eli Moon. Make sure you use the QR code during the break and get some great deals through our partners of Inside Edge Network. Back after this.
Hey, I got something to show you guys. Take a look. It is spring. Happy spring to all of you. Take a look at what we have here for you from AlleyRoseFragrances.com. Beautiful spring scent candles here for you. Hand poured with premium fragrance and essential oils. How about this? Our coconut soy wax candles bring fresh, uplifting spring scents to your home. Made with clean, natural ingredients, they're a mindful choice for sensitive spaces and those who love effortless seasonal fragrances. You got to check it out right now. There's the soft bloom and the lemon bar candles, all healthy ingredients, all from AlleyRoseFragrances.com. And if you're a first-time customer, use the promo code InsideEdge20. That's InsideEdge20. Get this for yourself, for your friends, family, everyone. You want a good smelling home, AlleyRoseFragrances.com will make it happen. Again, AlleyRoseFragrances.com. Get the new spring candles. And when you order, if you're a first-time customer, InsideEdge20 is the promo code.
Whether you're searching for a baseball autographed by your favorite World Series slugger, a signed football by an iconic Hall of Famer, or the jersey of a world-famous soccer star, you've come to the right place. Here at sportsmemorabilia.com, the web's leading source of authentic sports memorabilia, you'll find more than 500,000 authentic products from nearly every professional sports league, team, and player. Not only will you find your next prized sports possession with ease thanks to superb customer service and tremendous site experience, but you'll have the satisfaction and peace of mind that every product listed comes complete with a certificate of authenticity and is fully backed by the sportsmemorabilia.com lifetime authenticity guarantee.
And welcome back to Inside Edge Primetime here on the Inside Edge Network. Chad, Bryan over there to my right, your left. I am Eli Moon, and we are back for another segment here on this Wednesday edition of Primetime. We appreciate you tuning in, and we also appreciate the Cleveland Guardians, who have been on fire in terms of winning series to start the 2026 MLB season. They have went into a battle against Seattle. They tied 2 games. They beat the Dodgers in a series. They beat the Cubs in their home opener series, and now they've beat the Royals in their series, taking 2 games to 1 game. They go in against your Atlanta Braves, Chad, and look, we don't have too much time to talk about the Braves and Guardians series on air, live while it's taking place, so we'll have to react next week. But how do you feel about the Guardians? They went 10-2 against the Royals. I mean, what did you make of the game today?
I mean, it's good to see the bats wake up a little bit. Angel Martinez goes 4 for 5 with a grand slam. That was nice. Kyle Manzardo got a hit. He's creeping ever closer to that, that level that we all want to see, a good all-star. Well, maybe not the 100 mark, but that's okay. He's creeping toward the 100 mark. Listen, I told you, bad starts at the beginning of the season. They look bad because it's the beginning of the season. Hopefully he'll get going, but yeah, that's alarming. 087 after today's game. After going 1 for 2, but yeah, Rhys Hoskins was 3 for 4 with an RBI, and I know he hasn't hit any home runs yet. He hasn't got he's not quite the big right-handed bat that you'd hoped for just yet. But it's early and it's cold, and the ball doesn't really carry right that well in this weather. And by the way, you said something a battle in Seattle. That sounded like a Muhammad Ali fight. That just rung a bell for me. But Thrilla, Manila, the battle in Seattle, whatever. Yeah. Maybe these 2 teams will play in the playoffs, and they'll be in the ALCS. It'll be the battle in Seattle, like some big game there.
Well, hopefully we have home field.
Yeah, you would like that, but there's at least going to be a couple games there. But yeah, as far as watching, like thinking about my Braves, not my Braves, I don't know them, but the Braves just kind of taking on the Guardians. I mean, 2 teams that are 8-5. They've gotten there in very different ways. I think the Guardians have outscored their opponents by 3 runs, and the Braves have outscored theirs by 34. But I don't know. I just feel like the Braves are I don't know. I've seen them at the top of some power rankings, but I told you, I don't feel like – I don't know. It's like any day the rug is going to get pulled out from under the Braves. And the Guardians are kind of playing a dangerous game too. I mean, today was great. 10 runs today was awesome. But a lot of, they're winning 2-1 and, whatever. not scoring too many runs. They haven't really gotten hot yet. I know the weather hasn't gotten warm either, but I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know what to make of it. It's so early on in the season. Maybe let's get back to this in May. I will tell you in May what I think of the Guardians, and maybe I'll tell you what I think of the Braves if you want to hear it. But 10 runs was a good look today for him. Angel Martinez getting him going. You want to see if I don't know. You'd like him to be consistent, Eli. And I'm trying to find a bad thing to say. It's hard to find a bad thing to say about a team that's winning games. It's just so backwards, from the Browns. It's like the Guardians really aren't outplaying anybody, but they're winning games. Where the Browns will outplay their opponent and lose by 17. It's wild.
Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing. I think they're playing good ball, and you were tough on the Braves to start the year, with the pitching staff. But I mean, they are 8-5, and Ronald Acuna's. Yeah, and Ronald Acuna is only batting 204 right now. He's really not even really hitting the cover off the ball yet. So for them to be doing this without their best player offensively, doing what he's doing offensively, which isn't much, that should be promising for Atlanta fans. And I think for the Guardians, we're just talking about Cal Manzardo trying to get to 100 batting average. I mean, imagine he starts getting going. And DeLauder's been a pleasant surprise. Already had 11 or 12 RBIs on the season. RBI, I'm sure somebody's going to come after me for the way I just said it, but. You have DeLauder, you have Jose Ramirez who's starting to wake up. I think the addition of Juan Brito is very interesting, and I think it's something that we should be looking at because there's a reality where, okay, Juan Brito can play shortstop too, if I'm not mistaken, and there's a reality where, okay, he could be the guy at short or second, I think more so short. And Bazana, I told Papa Moon the other day, I said, don't be surprised if in 2027 your starting infield is Juan Brito and Travis Bazana. It's just a very strong likelihood if Rocchio and Arias can't continue to really impress. And I know Arias obviously now out, a month or two, with this recovery. So it's going to be tough to really impress when you're on the IL. And then Bryan Rocchio, I mean, he's seemingly must have heard me. He must have heard me somewhere, Chad, because he has been hitting the cover off the ball here and there, and that's something that's going to keep him in the lineup. But I do think the addition of Juan Brito makes it interesting for, a guy like Gabriel Arias, who we were already talking about. Is he going to be here come June, July, August on this roster? He can't be DFA'd anymore, or that's it. Another team's going to probably pick him up, and then he's somewhere else. So I think it's interesting to see, with Brito coming up and already getting a few doubles, getting an RBI today. I think that's, we talk about Bazana putting the pressure on Arias and Rocchio. Well, there's another guy, and it's Juan Brito, the 19th ranked prospect for the Guardians, and a guy that doing pretty well so far.
Yeah, no, it doesn't look overwhelmed, to say the least. I think it's like I keep looking at Travis Bazana, and I want him to come up, and I want him to be that Ryan Sandberg type of second baseman, right? Where you get good, solid defense from him out of the middle, and he's hitting 40 home runs or whatever. I mean, it would be great, right? It would be a dream. But he yet to homer this year in Columbus. He's hitting 231. He's only struck out 8 times in about 43 at bats. That's not terrible. He's putting the bat on the ball. I think it's just a matter of time. They want to see him barrel it up a little bit. I don't know. Could they call him up sooner than later? I'm not sure. You call up your number 1 overall pick, who's, I don't know. I mean, I guess the perception would be that he's struggling a little bit, right? 231, no home runs. You expect him to be a bigger bat and gravitate his way toward the middle of the lineup. I mean, you want to see him having some success in AAA. But at the same time, I don't know. I mean, we've got this lockout looming, and I think the rules are all different. You're seeing prospects that don't even have major league time getting extended, 8, 9, 10 years. It's wild. It's just we're at a weird time in baseball right now where I wouldn't be surprised if they called Bazana up tomorrow, despite him hitting 231 with no home runs. Sometimes people say that the difference between AAA and Major League pitching is that the Major League pitching is always around the plate, right? Where AAA guys are trying to refine their control a little bit or the location, whatever, and Major League guys are a little more predictable. Doesn't get easier to hit per se, but it's easier to kind of, you can tunnel pitches a little bit more. Not from a pitcher's perspective, but from a hitter, you kind of know where they're going to be, they're going to come from, whatever. So maybe that's something that helps Bazana, just pitchers being more consistent location-wise. Maybe he gets the bat on the ball a little more. I mean, he's not having a swing and miss problem right now. So I don't know, Eli. I'm not really sure what they do with him.
Yeah, I think it's going to matter on how much more Juan Brito develops, because I think they're going to want to see how he develops at second base there, if he can continue to be strong there. And then if Bryan Rocchio, you look at his batting average, like I said, he's hit the ball a little bit better in his last 5 games.
Yeah.
And that's not saying much. He's still on the year batting, 206. So not impressive. I mean, it's still early sample size, but we're starting to get some games, and we're 13 games in. We got a little bit of a sample size. And I just think that mixed with the experience of Juan Brito, how fast does he come around and become a guy that you can count on every day? That'll lead to, if you feel comfortable, Guardians, that is, the front office, the coaching staff, putting Travis Bazzana there in the starting lineup every day as well. Because you do want to think about it, do you want a bunch of younger guys in this roster? It seems to be the wave nowadays. The Pirates are doing it. A lot of these teams are doing it. But you already have DeLauder up here. You now have Brito up here. You have some guys that are still younger in terms of service time. So they're definitely going to consider all those factors. But I think if Juan Brito can keep coming around, and if Bryan Rocchio starts to struggle, you see him dip below 200 again, he goes on a 4 or 5 game hitless streak, I think you could see Travis Bazzana get up here. And the worst that happens, I guess, is if he doesn't hit the cover off the ball, you send him back down. And I know there's a fear of, well, does that mess up his confidence? I mean, that's a chance I guess you're going to take if you're the Guardians, because if it does work out and you can bring him up, and then, I'm not going to say they're going to spend any money on him, because I think that's kind of crazy to say. If you're, that's why Jose Ramirez getting inked to the deal he did was so shocking. So I'm not going to sit there and say they're going to spend money on him like the Pirates just did Connor Griffin, but you at least get a better idea.
Pirates, like of all teams, though. I mean, that's like, to see them extend someone was crazy. It was shocking.
Yeah, it was shocking. But I don't think the Guardians will follow in their footsteps with a Bazzana contract, but I do think they'll get at least an idea. And if they do want to make that move, because I keep hearing, the reports of maybe these contracts are going to be grandfathered in, so that's why the Connor Griffin contract is so significant, because, okay, now they have him locked up for almost the next decade, or really, the next decade. So it's going to be interesting, but I do think we're going to be inching closer to a Brito and Bazzana infield at some point this season. I really do. I certainly get the vibe of that, because the fact that Juan Brito came up and, like you said, he didn't look overwhelmed, hasn't looked overwhelmed, and he's really looked sound in the bottom part of that lineup for the Guardians. It's kind of what we're missing out of the infielders, is somebody hitting the ball. I mean, Manzardo's struggling. Arias, when he was healthy, was struggling for the most part. Rocchio's been struggling. Jose is starting to get it. I'm not worried about Jose Ramirez, but he was even struggling for a moment. So the infield as a whole was not hitting the ball. So it's a nice, warm, welcome, and welcome to Cleveland, Juan Brito. We will take the hitting, and so far so good.
Yeah, 8-5, despite really, so many guys, like you said, hitting under 200 in the lineup. You'll take it, but you're putting a lot of pressure on that pitching staff right now.
Yeah, and Cantillo looked good today. 9 strikeouts, an earned run, 5 2/3 innings pitched, and he's looked good. Tanner Bybee, I know the other day I get the loss, but he still looked strong in defeat. Gavin Williams, these guys are looking all right, and that's really why you hope that Manzardo can turn it around, that you can get some pop out of some of these other guys in the offense, and maybe some like consistent production out of the catching position. We talked the other night, is it Bo Naylor? Should we get Austin Hedges some more time? There's other guys down there. We could look at the catching position. Maybe David Fry gets a few more at bats. Who knows? But you just hope that there's more production out of this offense, because you don't want it to be June, July, and these guys are having to go 7-8 innings strong. Pitch over 100 pitches. Just to get some W's then to clinch up the division, because it's all for naught if you get bounced in the ALCS again, or worse, the ALDS or the wild card round. It's kind of a sad story, but in order to beat these teams like the Yankees and now the Mariners, the Blue Jays, who I know they've had their struggles early on, but they are the reigning AL champions, to beat these strong offenses, you're going to have the arms rested enough. Healthy enough. And so that's why you hope they don't have to go through the dog days of summer pitching 7, 8, 9 innings every freaking game,
and getting every single win is a rough way to go down the stretch when you're when you get into July and August, man, that's gonna be tough.
Yeah, absolutely. So you just hope that Hoskins can keep hitting the ball. You hope that Brito can keep hitting the ball, and maybe, just maybe, you need a Travis Bazzana to get up here and I get he's not hitting the ball very well in Columbus.
Yeah.
But there's also Connor Griffin wasn't hitting the ball very well in spring training. They sent him down, and I get he was doing better. I guess it's a different thing because he was then hitting the ball all right in AAA. But all this to be said, there's not really a large sample size of his AAA time here either, with Travis Bazzana. And I'm going to take the averages of what he's done in his college career and what he's done in the minor leagues leading up to this point, which has been pretty sound. So I'm going to go off that more so than the 13 games or so he's played in Columbus. I understand it's something to be concerned about, Chad. As far as do you bring him up with in the midst of all this? Maybe you give it another 5-game stretch. But I do think if Brito keeps playing well, this next 10 games is going to be where they decide if it's an early call-up or if they're going to wait closer to the All-Star break, the trade deadline, things like that.
Gotcha. I want to ask you a question, but real quick, I saw a thing where Connor Griffin he's the youngest player in the majors. He's the only teenager in the majors. But if he had reported to the High A Florida Gulf Coast League, he would be one of the 25 youngest players there. I thought that was crazy that he's in the majors.
Wow.
He's looked a little overwhelmed at times, but I mean, give him a break, man. I mean, he was just in high school. Like, how long ago? You know what I mean? Like, it's a big jump. So hopefully he'll be okay. No vested interest in the Pirates, but I don't know. I always like to see young prospects come up and do well. So
I thought it was wild. I'm sorry, real quick before your question. Yeah. While you're on the Pirates, I saw there was a scrum with Paul Skeens, and he talked about Connor Griffin. And at the end of it, he said, he's going to be it's awesome. He's going to be the face of the Pirates for a long time. Paul Skeens said that about Connor Griffin. Paul Skeens, who could be due for a contract with the Pirates if they wanted the income. He could be the face of the Pirates.
But I don't think that's going to happen, man. I think that gives you some insight into just where his mind is as far as his future and where it might be and where it might not be.
Yeah. What's your question, my friend?
Well, I was going to ask you about the Guardians. Who do you think, if there's one guy, if your gut tells you, hey, there's one guy in this lineup, if he starts going, and I don't mean he's got to hit 580 with a million. I just mean if one guy starts to get into his groove, right? Like you have a month where somebody hits 285 with 6, 8, maybe 9, 10 home runs, whatever. Who is it? Hoskins? Is it Jose Ramirez? Is it Brito? Maybe, who knows? Who is it that gets the rest of the lineup kind of settled in and comfortable, and maybe they start hitting as a team? Sometimes it just takes that one guy. DeLauder isn't, he hasn't gotten the team over that hump yet, so maybe one more guy in that lineup that you just can't really pitch around or whatever. You gotta, I don't know. Does that question make sense to you? Is there one guy in that lineup, if he gets going, the rest of the team figures it out and they get going too?
Yeah, I mean, I think there is one more guy that needs to get going. It's the guy we've talked about earlier on in this segment. It's Kyle Manzardo. There's a lot of times where there's guys left on first or guys left on first and second, and he's counted on to drive in those runs, and he hasn't been able to. And I think if we can get him driving in runs on top of DeLauder, bringing in the bottom of the lineup in those innings where the 8-9-1 comes up and he gets one or two of those guys on and he can bring those in. On top of Manzardo, then bringing in the middle of the lineup. I mean, that's where the runs start really shuffling in. That's what makes a team like the Dodgers so dangerous, and that's why they're putting up 12, 13 runs. Now, granted, they have a way different situation than the Guardians, and their lineup's a little bit crazier. But the reason they're so effective is their 8-9-1 can get in a position to where, okay, now they're driving in from the top of the lineup. Now the middle of the lineup is driving all those guys in, and they're just constantly flowing. There seems to be stopgaps with this Guardians offense. It's okay, boom, Quan, DeLauder, Jose, and Jose starting to get going more, and then stopgap. And then, okay, a little bit of movement, and then stopgap. Yeah. There's not a flow, and it needs to be like water, this Guardians lineup, and flow a little bit better. And I think if Manzardo can start driving in some more home runs, now you have some real threats with Manzardo, DeLauder, every now and then Hoskins goes yard. I mean, Jose's going to get going. I know, and I'm sure there's somebody out there somewhere freaking out that Jose Ramirez isn't having the best of starts. He will figure it out. I mean, he's got a lot going on. He's also having a very emotional, I'd say, start to the year. I mean, he's not going to acknowledge that, but, I mean, he just signed an extension, which is probably his last contract, I'd say, as a professional, if not his second to last contract as a professional. And, you're looking at that. He's going to finish his career here in Cleveland. He just got the most games ever played as a Cleveland Guardian with 1,620 games played as a Guardian, now 1,621. Yeah. So it's got to be an emotional start to the year. So I think I'm going to factor that in a little bit too, and he'll be fine. I'm not concerned about Jose Ramirez. Who I am concerned a little bit right now is Kyle Manzardo. So if he can get going, then it's a completely different discussion. I think this offense can be consistently good, Chad, and that's where I'm at. Oh, we lost.
087 is a tough look. Oh my God! All right,
we got you back. We got you.
All right. Yeah, I just said 087 is a tough look. That's all. We could have gone on without me. Nobody needed to hear that. 087 didn't need to be repeated. But yeah, that's a tough look.
It sure was, pal. Sure was. Yeah. Well, hey, we'll take a quick pause here. We keep an eye on the Guardians. They're 8-5, and they go into a battle against the Atlanta Braves in then St. Louis. So it's gonna be fun as they take on some more National League teams. And we'll keep an eye on it here on Inside Edge Network, on Inside Edge Primetime. That's the show you're watching right now. That's Chad Bryan to my right, your left. I'm Eli Moon. When we come back, we're going to go way back. On April 8th, you'll never guess what happened. Well, Chad figured out. He did some deep diving. So we'll see what he found. We'll do Wayback Wednesday, and we'll put a bow on this thing here. Again, Chad Bryan to my right, your left. I'm Eli Moon. Inside Edge Primetime here on the Inside Edge Network. Back after this.
Clean energy, bold flavors, no jitters. See why people won't shut up about Dubby. Clean energy, no jitters or crash. Helps you lock in and focus. Over 15 absolute fire flavors to choose from. Visit Dubby.gg and use promo code InsideEdge10. Mosser Moments Photography is a husband and wife wedding photography team based in Cleveland, owned and operated by Ryan and Hallie Mosser. For the past 10 years, they've captured more than 100 weddings across Northeast Ohio and beyond, always working together as a true two-person team. Their style centers on authentic, emotional storytelling, documenting the real moments between two people in love and creating images that feel natural, comfortable, and true to the couple. Rooted in Northern Ohio, but inspired by their travels, Ryan and Hallie bring a warm, personal approach to every wedding day. Their work blends experience, consistency, and a genuine passion for helping couples relive their best day through timeless photography. Learn more at MosserMomentsPhotography.com.
And welcome back to Inside Edge Primetime here on the Inside Edge Network. Chad Bryan over there to my right, which means you would be over to your left. There he is. I'm Eli Moon. This is Inside Edge Primetime on this very own Inside Edge Network. If you're just tuning in for the first time, we appreciate you. Give us a follow, Inside Edge Net. If you're just tuning in, it's in September. Thanks. You know where to be, which is right here with Chad and I. Reminder, Midnight Run with us. Returning Midnight Run with Anthony Alford. Midnight to 1 a.m. here on the Inside Edge Network, so stay tuned there. Chad, now I know I got you worked up, man. I was talking about the Atlanta Braves playing the Guardians. I get it. I know big series coming up early on. I mean, it basically determines the entire season. You had some thoughts on the Braves and Guardians series, or just the Braves themselves, my friend? Is that right?
As all series do in April, I think it determines the entire season.
Yes.
No, it's more of a warning. I was going to say, I don't know if you saw, so the Braves played the Angels last night. Reynaldo Lopez and Jorge Soler got a little up close and personal. So Jorge Soler just absolutely owns Reynaldo Lopez. Hit a bunch of home. He's hit like over 500 against him. Has a bunch of home runs. And early on in the game, Soler hit another home run. Right, and Lopez ended up hitting him in the arm near the wrist. I get it, Soler. You're going to be upset. You get hit in the wrist, especially this early on in the season. It's a dangerous spot to get hit, right? And you got to be thinking it's because of whatever, all the success. Listen, Lopez had 2 strikes on him. He had some success going up and in. I think that's one of Soler's kind of cold spots, right? Fastballs up and in. A lot of guys aren't really comfortable pitching up and in within that strike zone, that little, corner of the strike zone up there, whatever. And it gets away from some guys. You're so used to throwing, down and away, down and away, down and away. When you go up and in, sometimes it can get away from you. Your mechanics get off, whatever. The release is early, whatever it is, right? It can sail on you. And when it sails on you, when you try to go up and in, it goes further up and in, right? It gets close to the helmet. That's what happened in a later at bat. So I think Soler took it a little bit personally, but my whole point is Guardians don't mess around Braves manager Walt Weiss, all right? I don't know if you saw Weiss take down Soler in the middle of that fight. First of all, he's a black belt in Taekwondo. He snuck right through the whole Braves coaching staff. And it wasn't just to take down Soler. I mean, they're friends, right? Soler helped the Braves win a World Series in 2021. Everybody loves him. Weiss was just in there. He was the bench coach at that time. He was just going in there to protect Soler. You could see another coach immediately fall on Soler and kind of cover him up so nobody could jump on him. Whatever. I think it was just trying to keep him from getting suspended for a bunch of games because Soler was in there throwing haymakers, man. And I don't know what Reynaldo Lopez was doing. He was fighting with the glove on one hand. He had the ball on the other.
He hit it with the baseball.
It was a weird fight, man. But yeah, just keep an eye on Walt Weiss. Don't mess around when he's in the room. Don't make direct eye contact. When you address him as sir or Mr. White. I don't know, man.
Coach Weiss.
Yeah, Coach White, he impressed me, man. I just taking down Jorge Soler was a nice form tackle. So Walt Weiss with one more tackle on the season than I expected out of him. That was pretty good.
All right. Well, there's our update. There's our update on the Braves, and Soler and Lopez. Yeah, 7 games are both appealing their suspensions.
Yeah.
So we'll keep an eye on that. Another thing we'll keep an eye on here, Chad, before we go to Wayback Wednesday, is of course our friends over at Mentor High School, Memorial Middle School, Shore Middle School, and the Mentor Public Schools. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the link here. Something really cool. Go ahead. There's the link. go.rallyup.com/Music Mentors 2026. For those just wondering what that is, and Music Mentors is a nonprofit booster organization that serves the Mentor Public Schools bands, like I mentioned, Memorial Middle School, Shore Middle School, and Mentor High School. The Music Mentors organization consists of the parents, the teachers, the students. They're working together to promote music in these schools. And Music Mentors supports Mentor High School's Fighting Cardinal Marching Band and its 175 students. So 100% of the proceeds here are going to go from this fundraiser to the Music Mentors Scholarship Program, which provides scholarship for our band seniors in the Mentor Public Schools. So go to go.rallyup.com/Music Mentors 2026 to donate and win cool prizes. Over there at the 2026 Music Mentors Scholarship Program raffle. Again, this is to support Mentor High Schools. And for me, who I'm a big music guy, obviously I'm part of the collective La Hele. I book shows here and out of state. Music's super important. It's changed my life. It saved my life many a times. And I think it's super important and something that you should, anybody out there seeing this link, go and support, help the people, and the kids in the arts that are, one day going to be your next favorite drummer, or your next favorite trumpet player, or, your next favorite singer, whoever. But creative juices and flows have saved my life. And, that I think this is what a lot of these high schoolers are looking for, something like to get the blood pumping on a Monday or a Tuesday and to find a passion. And, I'm blessed that I was able to with music and here on the Inside Edge Network, but music is definitely super important to me and important to this cause. So go out there, go.rallyup.com/Music Mentors 2026, Chad. That's the link, and go support.
Yeah, we are happy to support the fine arts in school. You got to have it. Everybody. It's sometimes it's hard to find your thing, your niche, man. Until you never know what it could be, right? So we got to have plenty of different options. I think for kids in school, man, they need to be able to explore these kinds of things and have having a good music program. I think it's essential. So yeah, we're happy to support that.
Absolutely. So you see the link there. Go ahead and support. We'll be letting you know all week long here on the Inside Edge Network how to get there. But we'll be supporting, and you do the same out there. So we appreciate you.
Yep.
All right, Chad. The floor is yours, pal. We are going to go way back on this Wednesday. Is that what I heard?
Yeah, we're going way back. We're not going as far back. We're not going to go visit Bumpus Jones again. We're going to leave him alone.
Okay.
Quite honestly, he looked a little bit angry that we disturbed him. So I'm gonna let him lie. We're not going to.
Yeah.
We won't see Bumpus Jones again. I mean, I told you he had the first start. He threw a no-hitter, and then he didn't do much else in the major leagues, Eli. He was out in a couple years. So
Bumpus wasn't causing a ruckus.
No ruckus. Just a small little Bumpus, if you will. That's about it. He was just a speed Bumpus in the history of whatever. Okay, right. It's Wayback Wednesday. Let's just go back to the first entry in this week's Wayback Wednesday. On this day, on April 8th, not necessarily on a Wednesday, but in 1963, the Detroit Tigers claim pitcher Denny McLain on waivers from the White Sox. And McLain would go on to win the Cy Young in 1968. What year was that? 1960 what? 1968. He also won the American League MVP in 1968, won the Cy Young in 1969. He's the last pitcher to win 30-plus games. Denny McLain, Hall of Fame career after being claimed on waivers from the White Sox. So I don't know if the White Sox just didn't realize what they had, or who knows what happened back then. But I thought that was and again, this is going to be a pretty heavily baseball-centric Wayback Wednesday. Because it's baseball season. A lot of things baseball happen in April, right? But yeah, let's I want to move on because we're going to stay in the 60s, Eli. Do you have any thoughts on Denny McLain at all?
I just think it's interesting that we're talking about the White Sox giving up a great player. They're doing the same thing nowadays, it seems like, with Luis Robert and Dylan Cease and all the guys that are just going to different teams. McLain, 131 wins in his career, Chad, 3.39 ERA, and a 19.3 WAR. That means you get you an extra 19, 20 wins. Look at that.
Take it. Absolutely take it. So let's just stay in the 60s. Let's stay in baseball. Let's stay in baseball. And by the way, I get these a lot of these images and these entries come from onthisday.com, the website onthisday.com. So if you're ever sitting around and you're just like, hey, it's a random, it may not be a Wayback Wednesday. You may not have us to tell you what happened on that day. It might be a Friday, and you might go, you know what? If the segment was Wayback Friday, which doesn't sound as good as Wayback Wednesday, but you'd say what happened on, you'd go to onthisday.com and you'd look that day up, and that's how you'd find out. So in 1969, on this day, it was expansion, right? Baseball was expanding. They had to compete with football, so they got bigger. They added 4 teams. So in 1969, the first Major League Baseball game featuring a Canadian team in the Montreal Expos. It always makes me happy when the Mets go down, Eli. The Expos beat the Mets 11-10. By the way, I love that Montreal logo. When I was a kid, I was like, why does it say LO? But it was an M the whole time. I was like, why LO? AO? What are they trying to get away with? Like, what is Montreal doing? But it was an M the whole time. I was a kid. I'm like, why would they say? Anyway, and the other 3 expansion teams all won on that day, by the way. The Royals, the Padres, and the Seattle Pilots all got wins in their very first ever Major League Baseball games, Eli, on this day, April 8th, in 1969.
2 thoughts I have on this. One, there's not a cleaner hat to wear usually if you're not wearing your own team's hat. Besides, I'd wear a Guardians hat, but a Montreal Expos hat, there's not much a cleaner hat than that.
No.
That's number 1. Number 2, for those wondering who the Seattle Pilots became, they became the Milwaukee Brewers after just 1 season. After their inaugural season, they became the Milwaukee Brewers, which Brewers have been since 1970. So Seattle not only taking the Supersonics, but they took the Pilots from them too, Chad. And you know what?
Or is it the Pacific Northwest just saying, you know what? No, thank you. We don't want the Pilots. We'll wait for the Mariners.
That's true. They do have the Mariners, so I mean,
Pass for now, right? We had our sample, we had our 1 year. Yeah, we're gonna cancel after the free trial, and we'll wait for the next offer to come along. I don't know, who knows?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, it's April 8th, and that means this day. Listen, I had to cut these down, Eli. There were so many. I was grabbing everything, man. I couldn't, but this is a big one. This is probably the biggest one on the list, honestly. Maybe we should do it last. But we're gonna do it right now. Okay. On this day in 1974, Eli, Hammer and Hank Aaron hits his 715th home run off of Al Downing in Atlanta. That I wasn't alive, but I've seen that. I've seen the home run many, many times in my life. It's been replayed all throughout my life of being a Braves fan, especially on this day. It is seared into my memory as one of the things that it's probably one of the last things I'll remember on my deathbed when I'm older, man. I won't know what's going on around me, but I'll picture Hank Aaron's 715th home run at Fulton County Stadium. But yeah, broke Babe Ruth's all-time home run record on this day, on April 8th, 1974.
And I want to be clear, we've talked about on this show about, you got to let Barry Bonds and all these guys in. They did the PEDs if you're going to let Bud Selig in. But the fact that Hank Aaron did it the right way, it's just like so cool. Yeah. And, a lot of people still consider him like the home run king because technically he did it the right way. And, to beat Babe Ruth, 2 icons at the top of their games. It's very cool, very cool. Not much more to say besides congratulations to one of the leaders of the home run ball. When you think of smashing home runs, you think of Hammer and Hank Aaron. And yeah, I remember reading a book when I was in like 4th or 5th grade. I always read these sports books, and one of them was Hank Aaron. I read an autobiography or whatever on Hank Aaron, and get to learn more about him. And you just kind of get to know that he just really loved his fam. He was like a really just down to earth guy, and just happened to have power like a freight train.
Yeah, and he wasn't even that big of a guy, really. Just really, really strong wrists and strong forearms. He was known to walk around using like a grip strength device, essentially, all the time. He had it with him all the time.
It was the form.
His hands just so fast. You know what I mean? There's such quick hands.
Yes.
And also as a kid, he would hit folded up, metal bottle caps with a stick to kind of help his hand-eye coordination. So
it was all form, and he didn't have like all the tools that maybe everybody else around him had, the resources, I should say, but he made it happen. I think that's like a testament. Like, you can really make it happen with whatever you have around you. It's really about your will and your determination to go out and achieve the dreams you have. And for Hank Aaron, I don't know if 715 home runs was like that was like, one day I'm going to grow up and hit 715 home runs in Major League Baseball, but he did, and he's cemented as one of the legends forever.
Yeah. Or 755 because he didn't stop there. But yeah,
you're dang right.
That's okay. Yeah, today was the big one though. It was like I said, the one that's kind of seared into my memory is the one that everybody remembers. Crazy to hit 755 home runs and everybody remembers one. Right?
Yeah.
One. That's a career summed up. A legacy is defined by one moment. That's pretty crazy. But yeah, he was so consistent. Anyway, we're gonna move on to we're gonna stay in the 70s. We're gonna go just next year, 1975. 1 year later, just 1 year later, all this was going on. Hank Aaron had broken the home run record. These two fellas that you see here ran out on the field, and it was a different time and place, and we let them do it. I mean, the police came out and kind of separated them, but Hank Aaron had said that he wasn't really comfortable with it, didn't know what they wanted to do, but said at the end of the day, they were just kind of congratulating him and celebrating. So, he ran along with him for a little bit because what else was he going to do, Eli? What can he do? So on this day, just 1 year later, like I said, in 1975, how about Frank Robinson debuting as the first African-American baseball manager for our very own Cleveland Indians? They were the Indians at the time, and they beat the Yankees. That's something we always like to do. We like to see the Indians and the Cleveland Guardians, whoever they are, we like to see them beat the Yankees, and they did that in Frank Robinson's managerial debut, 5-3.
Yeah, very cool. I love this logo, the C, the crooked C. It looks so cool, and when they wear it on
the getting ready to jump.
Yeah, it's so cool, and shout out Frank Robinson. This is awesome, seeing history there, and yeah, 2 Wayback Wednesdays and 2 New York teams losing. I know you were happy putting this together.
Yeah, it's just fun, right? You see the Mets and the Yankees go down. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. Well, we got to skip a couple decades. We gotta. Okay. This is like Quantum Leap. You never know where you're gonna end up. You don't know whose body you're gonna jump into. Remember Quantum Leap? That was a great show.
Okay.
Show my age. You probably don't even know what I'm talking about.
I was like, Quantum Leap. Quantum. All right, the next one, Chad. The next one.
You can Google that when we're done here tonight. But let's move on.
Our post game show, our post game meeting will just be us watching Quantum Leap. For everybody else,
that's it. We're just gonna watch a couple episodes. We're gonna binge a couple episodes of Quantum Leap while you guys watch that.
Yes, sir.
We can't show you Quantum Leap. That would probably be a copyright violation.
Oh,
anyway,
we would be so done.
That would be it. That would be the Outside Edge Network because we'd be looking in. Anyway, Eli, the year is 2001, right? Just picture it. And Tiger Woods wins his. I don't have another part of the graphic, unfortunately. It looks very blank over there. But Tiger Woods wins his second Masters, his 6th major. We had just started to introduce ourselves to the red polo tiger on Sundays, and that whatever, that stalking walk up the final couple of fairways, whatever, you kind of got used to Tiger Woods a little bit. So he wins his second Masters, wins his 6th major title. But the point of sharing this, Eli, there's an underlying story here, and so Tiger. I don't know why they showed David Duval in there. I'm not really sure what happened there, but whatever. I guess he was just 2 strokes ahead of David Duval. So there you go. Duval finishes second, and he gets on our Wayback Wednesday graphic. Congratulations to him, first of all. But the fun thing is Tiger and Phil Mickelson were in the final grouping, right? On this day, they were neck and neck. So they were. There's a famous story about them walking. They really weren't saying anything to each other because they were focused. They were playing golf, and they were trying to win a championship, right? Trying to win a Masters. And at one point, Phil Mickelson goes. It was on the 13th hole, and he takes out his driver, right? And it was like a right to left kind of a thing. Mickelson's a lefty, so he hits it nicely. Gets a huge booming drive, and then Tiger comes up with his 3-wood and outdrives Mickelson on the hole. Phil Mickelson's looking at him like, "Wow, that's insane, right? I just gave that thing everything I had, and he outdrives me with the 3-wood. All right, well, whatever." So the next hole, same thing happens, whatever, and they're kind of talking. They finally start talking to each other a little bit. Tiger Woods is like, "Well, it worked on the last hole. Let's hope it works on this one." Again, outdrives Mickelson. Same situation. Mickelson goes right to left, beautiful drive. Tiger goes up there with the 3-wood and outdrives him. So, and he would go on to win or whatever. But Eli, my point is, at one point, Tiger Woods was a very good driver. Way back on. Not today.
A Wednesday, maybe.
Maybe on a random Wednesday. Could have been a Wednesday.
And that's your edition of Wayback Wednesday here. Chad Bryan went way back and found all those facts, so you now know what happened on April 8th, way back. And with that, we're going to take a dive into some final thoughts here on this Wednesday and put a bow on this edition of Inside Edge Primetime. Chad, would you like to put some final thoughts on this edition first?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and roll it over. Let's. Is it too soon?
Yeah, way too soon.
Okay,
way too soon.
Right. Well, he was fine. Nobody was hurt. Okay, listen. Braves Guardians this weekend. It's gonna be fun. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Unfortunately, Eli, we do not. Maybe we do a Friday night show now, right? We got to talk about this series, but yeah, we do not get to react to this on air. But Monday night we'll talk about it. I'll see you Monday on Inside Edge Primetime right here on the Inside Edge Network. We'll talk about it. It's going to be a good series. I'd like to see, like I said, two teams with just completely different styles. The Braves kind of coming off this Angels series where they took 2 or 3 from the Angels, and they I don't know. I mean, sometimes a fight can forge you together a little bit. The Braves never really have any chemistry issues. That's one of the tightest clubhouses in baseball, really. And it has been for quite some time. And that's why that move in 2021 was so shocking when they brought in all those out, Soler and Jock Peterson, and brought in everybody and just completely changed that team. They shouldn't have been buyers. They should have been sellers. They were way, way back in the division, but somehow they came back, got into the playoffs, and snuck into the World Series and won it. So don't be too alarmed on either side. I mean, if the Guardians come in and sweep the Braves, I'm not going to be alarmed, right? If the Braves happen to sweep the Guardians, don't be alarmed. It's early. 8-8 is not a death sentence. Trust me, that Braves team was a good, 5-6 games below 500 at the All-Star break, and came out firing at the trade deadline and adding to their roster. I mean, it didn't make any sense. So you just never know, right? You can catch fire at the right time. Look what the Guardians did last year, 15 and a half games back, and came back and won the division. I mean, yeah, it ended probably a little bit sooner in the playoffs than you would have liked, but my point is, don't get too worked up in April. Just, give them some time, and whatever happens this weekend, enjoy the fact that baseball's back and the weather's getting warmer and we're inching closer to summer. That's all I got.
Absolutely, and I'll piggyback on that. Just enjoy, the Guardians Braves this weekend. If you're a Cleveland fan, enjoy. If you're an Atlanta fan, enjoy. Me and Chad, I'm sure we'll be going back and forth arguing about the series. But yes, it's not to panic, one way or the other. But definitely enjoy the spring weather. I was telling Chad before we got on the air, I'm like, okay, I think this is our last little break of cold weather. Today got a little bit warmer. Tomorrow, I think we're up to 70, and then 70s, 60s, and high 50s. Is what we're getting for the next week or so. So just start getting out in the warm weather, enjoying that. Go find something fun to do. Find a show, something to step out and do. Go to a baseball game. Baseball is back. Enjoy it, and just love your life and enjoy what you got going on, and find happiness in every waking moment you get. So with that being said, that is Chad Bryan to my right, your left. I am Eli Moon. We are Inside Edge Primetime here on the Inside Edge Network. Give us a follow at Inside Edge Net. Thank you for choosing us as Cleveland's digital leader and your source for sports, entertainment, and mental health conversations. We'll be back with you tomorrow, 10 o'clock to 11 p.m. And then, of course, we got a busy, busy weekend coming up, and we'll get you prepped for that tomorrow. So stay tuned in for that. Again, with Inside Edge Net on all the platforms here. But for Chad Bryan to my right, your left, I am Eli Moon. This is Inside Edge Primetime here on the Inside Edge Network. We hope everybody has a great rest of your evening. We hope you start your day off with some Midnight Run with Anthony Alford, which is at midnight to 1 a.m. here on the Inside Edge Network. Until then, we'll see you. Peace.